All right, it's 8:30. Call this meeting of Land, Water, and Forest Resources committee meetings to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Jesse Betcher.
Here.
Ed Peters.
Here.
Jason Weaver.
Here.
Brian Bissonette.
Here.
Mark Helwig. Kevin Schechter. Here. You have a question.
All right, sounds good. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Certification of compliance with open meetings law.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statute.
Okay, thank you. Public comments. At this time, members of the public will be given an opportunity to address the committee. Please adhere to the following when addressing committee. Times limited to 3 minutes or less. Comments should be directed to the committee as a whole and not individual committee members. And the committee cannot respond to comments. I haven't received any sheets. I don't see anybody in the room. Is there anybody online wishing to make public comment?
Well, we do have Andy now online too.
Really?
We have Alvarado.
Okay, so we have E online and we also have
Brian.
Janine on the phone. Is that right? Okay, great. Might come in handy. At this time, I will consider a motion for approval of minutes from January. We have a motion by Mr. Peters for approval and a second by Mr. Weaver. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're going to number 7, events. Usually this is where Greg tells us about any events that might be upcoming. But Greg is not here today. Anybody else have anything for events? Okay, number 8. Now this one is Jay online also, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So number 8 is the Sawyer County Treasurer's Office. Janine is out of town, but I think she's on the phone. We have a few items here that are potentially action items. Can we, even though it doesn't say for action on the agenda?
Andy, what's your opinion on that? Is there going to be a action for vote on any of these, or Janine?
It's a possibility. You might want to vote on, I believe it is 8C. If possible, I would like to take these 3 agenda items together just to review, if that's okay. A little bit out of the order than what they're listed at.
Hey, Janine, I know you're traveling. It sounds like you have a really good connection right now. So if you want to go ahead and I know we have a handout, but if you want to give us any further information on these, because it is a little bit complicated if you're just reading it. So if you can explain and if we need to vote on something, then we can do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically, if you don't mind, if we can start with 8B, which basically is the current list that is available. It is posted online, so anybody can come in and they can just purchase these parcels, these 12 remaining parcels over the counter in the Treasurer's Department. These parcels, the committee did already approve the minimum amounts for, which is why they can be purchased over the counter, and then these ones will be listed on the Wisconsin Surplus Auction site potentially spring of 2023. So there are notes down there relating to, which I thought maybe the committee would have questions regarding relating to the auction site. The county will not have any seller fees. The auction site, they basically collect the bid amounts, they retain the premium, and they collect the transfer deed from the bidder. Usually the way the auction runs is the parcels are listed for about 3 to 4 week long period. After the close of the auction, the county board will need to review, approve or decline those bids, and then we will get that decision back to the Wisconsin Surplus Auction, and then the winning bidders have that 7-day to get payment to the auction company.
Hey, Janine,
And
I have a sorry to interrupt, but I just have a concern with that last bullet point you mentioned. After the close of auction, the county board needs to review, approve, or decline the final bids. that seems like an extra unnecessary redundant step because the committee had already voted to approve the minimum amount. So if you receive the minimum amount or more, then I don't see a reason why it has to come back again for another approval because we already approved that amount. Can you clarify that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Nope, and that makes perfectly good sense. There may be a situation because when I spoke with the Wisconsin Surplus Auction, they did indicate, and I've seen this listed both ways on the site. I don't know if anyone's actually taken a look to familiarize themselves with the site, but they recommended that the county list the properties at a $0 and hold a reserve. Now I've seen parcels listed out there at the actual minimum, so you can do this either way. So to get back to your question, basically, if Sawyer County did make the decision to go with that $0, starting bid price, and a bid did come in and not meet the reserve, then we would need to get that to the committee to determine if they wanted to approve or decline that bid.
Okay, that makes sense. But in my opinion, if it meets the minimum bid, then I don't see a reason why it has to come back for an additional approval since the minimum was already approved.
Absolutely. Nope. And that's perfectly fine. This would
Okay.
be just for the scenarios that parcel did not meet that minimum bid.
Got it.
Then we would have to go to committee. So that's going to basically determine, the starting and end dates of the auction because it's going to be based upon those committee meetings.
Okay, what's
Does
next?
that make sense? Okay.
Yep, it does.
Okay, so I'm going to next go to 8C because there was a quote that was done, and this is relating to, it's going to be on this same list. So basically it's the list that is currently available. It's parcel number 37180 on Clark Street in Radisson. I don't know how many are familiar with this piece, but there is a building on the lot. And like I said, Tim did get a quote to demo this. I have not been on site. I am not familiar with this parcel. And so the quote came in, I believe, just under that $50,000. And if you look on the current land sale list, we currently have it listed for a minimum price of $10,500.
Right, so that the demo estimate was 47,000. So I'm no mathematician, but it sounds like the county would actually lose money if this property is only worth about 10,500, but it's going to cost 47,000 to demo it. It would be, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it would be more advantageous to the county to simply give this property away. We would save money by doing that. So I don't know, if we need to make a vote on this, or what do you recommend we do?
Well, and I would agree with, what you just stated. It's, the expense, I think, is obviously more than what, and I don't know if that building did not exist. I don't know that land is going to be, if we're going to recoup the cost of that demo.
Right, Mr. Weaver.
So,
hold on, Janine. Mr. Weaver has a comment.
I think my
Absolutely.
guess would be that building's a liability for us. If somebody was to go into it, I think it's dangerous, and I don't know about the safety of it standing as is. And so maybe
And that's-
it's something that a question for our insurance. So are we liable if someone gets hurt in that building? Because it's not secure, it's a big building, it's old, it's kind of scary.
Potentially haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is here or what our options are for the next step. If we can just, lower that amount to like, a $1 minimum or something like that, just to remove our liability and get it off of our books and off our hands. Because
one thing, go ahead.
Well, I'm against spending $47,000 to tear down a building that's only worth with that and the property, $10,000. That doesn't make sense physically to me. So what was your comment, Janine?
Well, I was going to say, I also talked to Tim regarding a controlled burn by the fire departments, and he said because of where the property actually exists, it's too close to other commercial buildings, and that is not recommended. You know, that is not an option either.
Okay,
This would be an instance where, you know, right now, the minimum bid that the county did agree on, you know, previously when this list was created, was at 10.5. So this would be a situation where if we did put it out on the auction site and it is at that 10.5 and it didn't come in at that price, you know, because you're willing to accept it for less, this would be a situation that falls under.
okay. Mr. Alvarado, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just to explain why the bid is there, is that we did get some contact from the Villager Addison that the building is becoming a health hazard because they believe it's a home for rodents. And there is a tree leaning on the building as well. So like somebody said, the building is fairly big. The windows are blown out in the front. It's not secure. We did try to negotiate a swap with the local municipality, see if they would take on the building, if we would hand it over to them. They are interested in dealing with it. And like Janine said, the discussion of a burn was not an option just because of how close it is to the adjoining property owners. And burns are a little more difficult these days because before you can burn anything, you have to make sure, like, take the shingles off and do some other items before you can have the fire department burn it down. But I mean, I agree that the cost, we're not going to recover this cost out of this property. You'll end up with an empty lot in the village of Radisson, which is not going to get you $47,000. So I think your options are to lower the bid and see if anybody will take it for $1, or at some point we're going to have to consider demoing it because it is a liability for us. At this point, we own it. So we
Okay.
need to do something.
So what I'm hearing is, and what to me, what makes the most sense is we can't burn it. We don't want to spend $47,000 to demo it. I would like to, I don't know, Andy, can I just make a motion to lower that bid to a minimum of $1 and then see if we can, you know, I don't want to say pawn it off, but get it off of our books and out of the county's responsibility and more importantly, our liability because of the reasons listed. Can I make
Yeah,
that?
you know, yeah, you can make that motion. That's the committee's prerogative to set the price where they believe the market value is. And at this point, that I think that'd be the fair market value for us.
Okay, then I make the
So-
motion to lower the minimum bid to $1 for this property.
I'll second that.
And we have a second by Mr. Peters. Any further discussion? Janine, did you have something else to add in further discussion?
Well, I do have one question, Andy, regarding that one specific one. Do we then need to repost that list or no? My assumption is no, but I want to confirm since the committee already agreed, approved the one list at a prior meeting, and if it goes to auction, you know, right now we still have that minimum on it. Obviously, this motion changes it, but now do I need to repost, republish with a notice in the mail because this one changes?
I don't think we need to do it just for the one property. You're going to relist these all on the auction site this spring, so
Okay,
I'll just do it
okay.
then.
Okay, nope, that's perfectly fine. And then I can move forward, if you will, to 8A to
Well, let's
upcoming.
Janine, since we have a motion and a second on the floor, let's go ahead and if there's no further discussion,
I guess I have a question, Chairman.
yes.
Janine, if you can hear me, this is Tweed. Do we currently have any bids on this property? I mean, I know we
We
said.
do not.
But no interest at all?
We have not, no.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion, we will we do a roll call vote on this.
Mr. McKay?
So we'll do a roll call vote on this just so there's no confusion. And the motion again is to approve lowering the minimum bid on this property in Radisson to $1. Motion made by myself, seconded by Mr. Peters. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Mr. Bissonnette,
Yes.
Mr. Sheptick,
Yes.
Mr. Weaver, oh, I got you, Mr. Bitcher.
Yes.
Hey, and Mr. You got it.
Yeah, Mark's not here. Okay, so motion passes. We'll go ahead and
Oh, yeah.
and lower that. So, okay, Janine, now we can go on to the next item.
Absolutely, thank you. So last agenda item would be 8A, which would be the tax deed land sales. So these are properties, as you can see from the document that was provided, there was about 15 properties foreclosed on for the 2016 in-rem process and 17 properties foreclosed on for the 2017 in-rem. There is a note I just want to draw your attention to that I put in yesterday relating to the DOR's guidelines for tax exempt properties. Since I had this printed, those situations, those tax exempt would not apply to either of these. There's some potentially in 2018. So you can just strike that from that note. But on the attachment, so there's 3 pages. And those are going to list basically the parcels that Sawyer County took back, the estimated fair market value, the total delinquent taxes over the 5-year period that we would have to write off, and then there's comments and recommendations from Jay relating to the property. So the one thing that does not include is any deed fees of $70 or any $10 ad fees that Sawyer County had expenses for over the process of the 5 years. And so basically what we would need to do is one of two things, and Andy, feel free to offer up any advice, but I wanted to provide a list of where we are with those properties. Those properties as well will go to the Wisconsin surplus auction. I'm going to keep that auction listing separate from this one that we just discussed, just to keep it, they're two different. And so at this point, if you want to review those, I don't know if you want to approve any of those or discuss them further as far as what the minimum that the county would accept for when they do go out to auction. Did anyone, have you taken a minute to look those over prior to? Do you have any questions that Jay or I could answer relating to those parcels?
Yeah, we have some questions. Mr. Weaver?
Would this make sense then to start the bid at 0 again, Janine? To expedite the process of getting rid of them?
Well, you know what? We could start it at 0, just like the auction company recommends, but the county still has to set that minimum a price.
Okay.
So it'd be like a reserve price that
Yeah.
That
might
is correct.
be,
Yeah.
so the reserve price would be maybe unknown to the bidder.
Exactly. And
When we were talking.
My
in
understand-
conferences,
Okay, we have another question from Mr. Bissonnette. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Janine, the question I have is, I've looked over this list a couple times. There's actually quite a few properties that are within the reservation boundaries. Now, I don't expect it to be a problem down the road, because I know the tribe has been working with the local tax assessors, but have you checked to see if any of these properties are on this list that were owned by LCO members and foreclosed on due to tax forfeiture, because it's gonna be problematic if it is.
Nope, and that's what I addressed a little earlier on. So on the handout, let me get that in front of me. I did indicate that I wanted to follow up and make sure that none of these properties that we're currently discussing were going to fall under those tax exempt properties, and they do not. We do have some potentially for the upcoming 2018 in REM process that Sawyer County is currently working on. Those will be removed. So anything on this list does not apply.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Schuman, go
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Janine, how many of these properties, as Brian mentioned, do lie within the boundaries of the reservation? Because I do see, Janine, one of these
Well,
comments that the tribe
now,
would be
oh, go
interested,
ahead.
that the tribe would be interested in these. I think all of these within the boundaries, the tribe would definitely be, probably put a bid in on these.
And that was something, I don't know, is Jay with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, that was something that we did. Andy, Jay, Dan and I met to go over some of these parcels, as well as possibly discuss maybe updating or changing a policy to what the current, what Sawyer County currently does for the MREM process. Right now, Sawyer County takes the property back after 5 years, but statutorily, it could be taken back after 3 years rather than holding on to these parcels. And there are a fair number, like you said, in the reservation boundaries.
Yeah, and the majority of them that are in the reservation boundaries are those specifically in Northwoods Beach. And those that aren't familiar with Northwoods Beach, those are those smaller 30 by 100 foot lots where you would need a conglomerate of at least 7 in order to have a buildable area as determined by the town of Bass Lake. Now, if those are within the reservation agreement boundary and they're tribally owned, then those protocols obviously, those don't need to have that because rights to self-govern themselves. But there are other private landowners within Northwoods Beach that would also potentially be interested in some of those Northwoods Beach lots. But there are some other properties that I identified in some of the notes that, this is within the reservation agreement boundary, and we should specifically look at the tribe to purchase these because some of them are actually pretty nice there.
Sorry, Andy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, and I just want to clarify too, to Mr. Weaver's question. These properties have gone through the in-rem process. We do own them now by tax deed. They have not been offered for sale yet to the public. So the first time when we offer them to the public, by statute, we have to offer them at a appraised value or fair market value. That is set by the committee, but we can't, that's why we could have a reserve price that's unpublished, but it has to be based on what we believe is the fair market value for the property. In the statutes, it's called an appraised value, but really it's a dollar amount set by the committee that takes into account the market and the property. And at least the first time out, we have to offer it for that price.
Hey, Andy, since you're on the line, what is your recommendation for the committee to do today with this? Is there any action that the committee needs to take, or is this just mostly for information and then we can maybe vote on this at a later time?
2 things. One, I don't think there's a rush because I don't think the plan is to put these on the site for a couple months, because I think in order to, we have to make best efforts to market the property. I think Janine and Jay's plan is to get some pictures of the site, of the properties, some parcel maps before they're listed. So I think that has to happen, so there's no rush. But I think also it's a question for the committee. I think Janine has listed some fair market dollar amounts on those listings. What ultimately, though, the committee has to set the price or agree to the price. what do you want to see to help make those, to verify those dollar amounts? Do you want to see pictures or parcel maps, or how comfortable you are, or how would you get comfortable setting the price?
I mean, I think that I have to trust, you and Janine and Jay and how you're coming up with these fair market value prices. I mean, I know I'm personally not a real estate expert, and I don't know if other people on the committee here are, but I mean, we're gonna listen to the advice of, you guys and your recommendations for the most part. So do you think do we need to vote on those fair market value prices that you have listed today, or is that something that can wait another month?
Janine, is it something we need to do today, or do you want to wait a month?
Did we lose Janine?
Where's this mute? Is it muted?
You're muted right now, Janine.
There she goes.
Sorry about that. I guess the one question I had, is there a reason why you would want to wait to determine the value? Like Andy said, the first time it goes out, it has to be published with that fair market value. That fair market value is provided, and then there are some recommendations that Jay did make regarding this.
No, so.
Is there additional homework that you guys are that you want to do or take a look at, I guess, maybe is what Andy is asking.
Okay, I understand. No, to be clear, I don't want to put things off. I don't want to wait. If we can get things done today, then I would rather do that. I was asking if we needed to do that today, or if you and Jay and whoever else on your staff needed more time. But if you're saying that these prices are good, then I think as a committee, we could, vote to approve the fair market value prices that you have listed. Yeah, I wasn't trying to delay. I just wanted to know if you need more time. So at that case, then I would entertain a motion for the approval of the prices, the fair market value prices and minimum bid amounts that are listed from our county treasurer.
This is just for what's on pages 6 through 9, is that correct?
On those, it's those.
It would actually be pages 1, 2, and 3. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not looking at 6 through 9. I'm on a different.
I have 4 pages here.
Yes, I see.
Right. Yes, and that's where I wanted to clarify. So that 4th page, that is the in-rem. So part of those, all of those there are actually currently on our website. Those ones have already been approved. The only difference is those had Jay's recommendations on them. So that's why I just wanted to clarify it is pages 1 through 3, basically titled as in REM 2016 and in REM 2017.
Okay.
Not the 2015 and prior, because 2015 and prior have already been approved.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. So do you want to?
I will move to list these parcels from 2016 and 2017 as indicated on the handouts.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Peters for the approval of the minimum bid, the estimated fair market value for 2016 and 2017 REM on pages 1 through 3. And I will second that. The motion by Mr. Peters, second by myself for approval. Is there any further discussion from anyone, including Janine, Jay, or Andy? Or anyone on the committee?
Yeah, just real quickly, and my notes there, it sounds like we're taking the estimated fair market value, which is fine for this year. But if these properties don't sell, there's most likely a reason, and it's something that this committee is going to have to look at and potentially change those amounts in the future. Now, we could hire an appraiser at $200 a pop and, get a more assessed value on that. Or what I had done is, taking time on each of these properties and looked at them and kind of gave my notes for, how I see these lots and what I see other lots being sold for throughout the county. So my notes are just that they're my 2 cents on them. And it's something that probably this committee should look at if they don't sell in that short term.
Yep, okay, thanks, Jaden. I know you did a lot of work on that. We see all the notes where you recommended different values and percentage and stuff like that. So, but I think if we go with the the amounts that are listed now and give that a shot first, and then, we can always lower those later. It's hard to raise a price, but it's easier to lower the price. So any further discussion on this? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. I think then we can go on to number 9, unless anybody had anything additional for the Sawyer County Treasurer's Office. Okay, hearing nothing, number 9, Land Records and County Surveyor Department report.
Yeah, I guess I don't have much to report. Survey crews having a miserable time getting their own. It's not anytime soon. We're getting where we can and across swamps and stuff. It's just tough. And as far as the rest of the staff, we're also spending some time on the tribe's tax and plans. Hopefully we get a good list put together before the end of the year and a good map where the reservation boundaries are, because there's been several floating around over the years, and I hope somebody gives us a good official map so we know exactly where everything is, because you guys know a little bit and we don't know some of the boundaries exactly. So
Any update on the issues in Draper that we're off by several hundred feet with some of those survey reports?
yeah, that'll shake out
In
over
the spring,
time. I
summer?
mean, where it's not a big priority. Well, it is to get it all done, but that's just one of the areas countywide that we just still need to have staff or contractors work on to get those boundaries worked out. Yeah, I got emails and phone calls from the DNR about that a couple of times this week, and it's just tough to work on anything right now. You can't see anything.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Surveyor Department? If not, we'll go to number 10, Sawyer County Forestry Department, 10A Recreational Trails Report Motorized. We have anybody online? Non-motorized. Anybody in the committee have any comments for motorized or non-motorized? Okay, 10B County Forestry Report. Greg is not here, but you can look through that report, and nothing jumped out at me as being, we're only at 236,000 so far, but we're only in early February. Any other questions or comments on the forestry report that's in the on the agenda there? If not, 10C DNR forestry report. Nobody online. Let's see what that says. Talks about ice conditions mostly being subpar. I don't know when this report was written, but last week we had some very cold weather, so I think the ice got a little bit better, but now that it's 40 degrees today, I don't know if that's going to change much. Okay, number 11, Zoning Conservation Department. Jay, you got anything there?
I can handle it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So the tree sales up and running and has been selling well. There's only 4 packets of pine and 1 packet of tamarack left. Everything else has been sold out on that. We had our local and area poster and speaking contest where any schools that are within the county can participate in that. There's a theme for the posters. This year it was One Water. We had a total of 29 posters done, and actually one of ours in the senior division from Brooke Fromo One is moving on to the state competition. It's a pretty impressive drawing. And then also with the speaking contest, we had a total of 14 speakers from the local one, and the winner also won at the area. And Anna Mania will be headed down to Chula Vista in March to give her speech to try to win at the state level. So she did a very good job on her speech on that one too. So we have that moving on. Update on the Price Dam clutch gear mechanism. We did finally get somebody from Georgia who was able to look at it and fix it. So they sent us their estimate, and we have them moving forward with the repairs. We are hoping to have it fixed and back on before the spring melt begins, so that we'll have a fully functional dam down there. Conservation staff, including myself and Natalie, we've been working on project designs and mostly shoreline stabilizations, so we can have stuff ready to go for the spring and summer construction season on that. With cost share funds, Natalie's been catching up on some AIS training. And then we have been working on getting our land and water grant for our funding dollars for the department. And then as far as Lake Loretta goes, right now, the gates and stuff are hopefully being fabricated down in the shop. And once the weather cooperates, we'll be able to install those and get the water level coming back up.
And I see restocking of fish this fall, as early as this fall.
That's the hope, that once we get everything put in and the water levels up, then in fall we can bring the fish in. Jay has been discussing with the place that we're gonna get the fish from and restocking, and fall is the best timing based on when the water level will be up for them to bring the fish up.
What are you restocking with, do you know, or does Jay know?
Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
list.
I have the list in my office. I'm at home today under the weather, but ultimately everything that was in there is planning to be restocked. So bass, perch, crappie, bluegill, northern pike, and then the DNR is going to be restocking some muskies as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that plan was worked out with Max Walters, the DNR fishery biologist.
Okay, perfect. Any questions for Tim?
I had to chair this real quick.
Go ahead.
Tim, are there any dams that we can be looking at repairing, or any major cost shares coming up the pipeline that we should be aware of?
Let's see, we're in 2023. In 2025, we're gonna be hoping to look at the fish trap dam, because that one's the next one that's probably the most needed repair.
There was one question that came up just in conversation with people from Draper about the boat landing that's right adjacent to the dam there. There's the tube, the culvert that goes under the access there is pretty short. And they were wondering whether or not there would be a way that they could, number one, add gravel to that parking lot, or that lot. It's not much room to park. But also to allow for easier access from vehicles pulling in there. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if the town wants to extend the culvert or add gravel or something there, I don't think anybody would have any issues.
Okay, because
with
I
it.
know there was a question about whether or not there was an agreement between the county and the town with regard to that, and so I'll make sure that the town gets in contact with you guys too.
Yeah, from what I've seen on it, it's county owned land. And there, I guess, was no discussion on whether or not we were going to improve that landing at all, whether or not there was even, money available in our budget to actually improve that. But if the town wanted to assist the county in re-graveling that area, I don't think the county would have any objections.
Okay, would there be any restrictions on how far down that gravel might go? Because it's once you back into the water there, it gets pretty soft pretty quick.
Yeah, we would need a permit through the DNR in order
Okay.
to still fill below ordinary high.
Okay,
Yeah, because I don't believe there's any boat landing permit on record. If there was, it could probably fall under ordinary maintenance and repair, but I don't think there's an original permit, but I certainly could help the town. We could start applying for a permit would be all that.
Okay.
difficult to
Okay,
do that.
thank you. Okay, then, if there's no other questions, we'll go to 11B, which is wildlife damage claims. Discussion and possible action for approval, denial of the submitted claims, and there's quite a few. Who's honcho in these?
So I can speak to it, otherwise I see Seth is on too. Seth is our APHIS wildlife damage person. But basically, they have the wildlife damage claims here, and Seth has gone through and indicated which ones are eligible for payment. And they just need to be approved and then signed by the chair.
Okay, so there is most of these are, I don't know if everybody's looked at them, but most of them are, they seem fairly reasonable, except for the cranberry one at almost $29,000. That to me sounds
Yeah.
reasonably high.
Cranberries always are a little bit more, as a specialty crop, their value is up a little higher. So when you look at the amount that gets damaged, it comes up pretty high. Now, the thing is, it's $29,000 worth of damage. The program caps out at 10. So after you take off the $500 minimum, and then it maxes out at $10,000. So the producer's actually going to lose $19,000 on that claim.
Okay, I didn't realize it capped at 10,000.
Yeah, it caps at 10,000. So
Okay, so you're saying that as the committee, we need to vote to approve. How many is there? About,
I think it's 14.
okay,
There's 12 claims recommended for approval.
what was that? Seth?
Seth?
Yeah, this is Seth Zessiger speaking. There's 12 claims recommended for approval. There was 14 claims total, but 2 of them did not meet the $500 deductible.
Okay. Okay, so then I would entertain a motion for approval or denial of these 12 submitted wildlife damage claims.
I'll make the approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sheptick for approval of the claims, second by Mr. Peters. Any further discussion? I do have a question, Seth. Where exactly does this money come from? Out of which pot of money?
So this money it's reimbursed to the producers from the state of Wisconsin for the DNR. This program is funded by hunting license sales, be that deer, bear, etc. Every time somebody buys a license, a couple dollars goes out of that sale to fund this pot of money. So ultimately, it comes from the state.
Okay, so nothing directly from the county at all? There's no fees from the county?
Correct. There's no fees from the county. From start to finish, this is a state offered program that the county can opt to participate in, which you have. You've contracted out the administration of the program to Wildlife Services. And Tim and Jay can both speak to this as well. Every year, the county has to submit a budget, but it's pass-through funding, that's totally reimbursed through the state, the funding to administer the program as well as the payment for these claims.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I know we've done this in the past. I just couldn't remember where the money came from. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sheptick, second by Mr. Peters. Any further discussion for the approval of the wildlife damage claims? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. We'll go to the 11C USDA report.
Just a few dates here. February is a pretty slow month. February 10th here is the deadline for conservation stewardship program applications to be considered for funding for this year. February 20th, USDA centers will be closed for Washington's birthday. March 1st, livestock indemnity program deadline to submit applications for payment for 2022 losses. And then March 15th is the deadline for producers to sign up for agricultural risk program and price last coverage. And then March 15th is another deadline for non-insured disaster assistance program for a deadline for spring seeding and annual crops. That's about it.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Sheptick from USDA?
Mr. Chairman, I did have a question. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Mr.
I
Chairman.
just want to back up. If Seth is still on the phone. Seth, are you still there?
Yep, I'm still on.
Was there anybody from this group or our department on that wolf call? Was that last night, maybe? And have there been any livestock depredation claims this past year, and how many, I guess, Seth?
Within Rusk and Sawyer last year, I don't recall that there was any. It was pretty quiet, but the previous year, 2021, there was several. I know Mike Rovers had a cow killed within 30 feet of his barn. One of the producers over by Weyerhaeuser actually had 2 cows killed. Myself, my brother, and my cousin all had calves killed. So I know Mike Rovers did testify at the meeting last night, but I didn't recognize anybody else local that testified. I wasn't even aware of the meeting, or I'd have maybe called in as well until Mike called me asking for a little bit of information. So yeah, as far as 2022 wolf depredations, confirmed wolf depredations seem to be down in the area, but I'm always getting reports of wolves in the area or suspected wolf kills, but just nothing that was verified.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
In my experience, just to add to that, typically when wolves are off the endangered species list and my agency is able to respond with lethal control, we tend to get those reports because producers are eager for the problem to just be gone. You know, I'm sure most of you are aware wolves are now back on the endangered species list, so we have no lethal authority. And those reports just tend not to come into us when that happens.
I think we do have the authority, or through USDA though, to trap the wolves and then have them relocated. In fact, I think you guys just hired a new trapper for a guy named Jake, right?
Yeah.
For a nuisance wolf and bear trapping to relocate. So that's an option. Unfortunately, we don't have the lethal option right now.
So yeah, wolves are a little bit different from beavers and bears. Wolves, the only time we can actually capture and relocate them is if they get inside a captive cervid facility, and then we can catch them out of that deer pen and move them out of there. But otherwise, it's just capture, process them on site, be that collar them or whatever, and then kick them loose, and just hopefully that negative interaction is enough for them to move on. You know, bears and beavers, obviously we can capture and relocate, or in beavers in that situation we kill them. But wolves are, when they're on that endangered species list, we kind of have our handcuffed pretty well.
Okay. All right, thanks, Seth, and thanks, Kevin. Any questions for Kevin? Go on to 11D LCO report. Brian, you have anything?
Well, one notable thing, we have a segment of public bike path or non-motorized walking trail from the south parking lot of the casino all the way to the LCO school. In the wintertime, we only maintain usually up to the Gawaden community, but due to the heavy snows this year, we weren't able to maintain it at all. We just got it opened up yesterday. There's a parking spot on Schoolhouse Road. So the trail is open to the public for walking. And then the only other thing is that, you know, from other reports that I've gotten from my wardens, our trails are looking pretty good. I want to thank the Alliance again for grooming for us. And so they've been pretty active over the last few weeks in particular. And so that's pretty much it.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Brian? If not, move on to number 12, future agenda items. Anything that needs to be added? I'll take this time to mention, as I did last night at Health and Human Services, that I'm actually going to be leaving the county in June. So my last meeting here will be in May. So for the agenda in June, there's gonna have to be another election for a chair and potentially vice chair as well. So just wanted to mention that to the committee. Number 13, correspondence, reports and conferences from conferences and meetings. Anybody attend any other conferences or meetings that they want to talk about? All right, if there's nothing else from anybody, I'll pause for a second. All right, we are adjourned.